D2 Word Life here with Rip Creepy Smile Tides.
WrestleMania style.
What the hell did you just say? Because you cut me off in my intro.
You heard me. I said, welcome to D2 Creeper WrestleMania style.
More like D2 Word Life here with Rip Creepy Smile Tides.
You were going to say Rip Creeper.
Rip Creepy
Or Reaper Creeper.
Rip Creeper Smile Tides. Whatever. The Sid English ain't helping me today. Of course, then again, it never helps me on any day, really.
I think you need to go back to Sid English 101.
Yeah, but then again, as we found out last week, freaking Sid's supposed to be inducted into the 2026 Hall of Fame, but that's another
time.
Yeah, but that's another discussion for another day. Today we are discussing and reviewing WrestleMania 18, or as Riptidz likes to call it, Creeper Mania 18.
Yes.
In this match, Jesus Christ, I am freaking really losing my focus here. This event, whatever you want to call it, took place on March 17, 2002, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, at the Skydome, with an attendance of 68,237 people.
Yes, it was the hometown of Edge and Christian.
Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. The commentators for this event was Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler. This is Jerry Lawler's first WrestleMania that he called in 2 years. His last one being WrestleMania 16. And, of course, the ring announcer was Howard Finkel, right?
Or should we call this Shampoo Mania?
Oh, God. Everyone knows, but we'll talk about that when we get there. And shout out to the Sunday Night Heat match, which saw Rikishi, Scotty 2 Hotty, and Albert defeat Test, Lance Storm, and Mr. Perfect in Mr. Perfect's last WrestleMania outing, too, before his passing early the following year. And just think, Albert went from competing in the Sunday Night Heat match 1 year to teaming with The Big Show against The Undertaker the following year at number 19. Figure that one out. Right?
Goodness, there his ass beat.
Exactly. But still, figure that one out. Right? So yeah, the pay-per-view started when rock band Saliva performed their song Superstar, which that is a banger. Not gonna lie. Right?
Well, I like Superstar and Superstar 2.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I like all the Saliva music, so.
Yep.
And yeah, so it shows my age. I remember when the fucking band Saliva was still around.
Yeah, let's just face it. You're old.
Fuck off.
Anyway, but then we see a video hype package hyping the superstars, talking about WrestleMania, how it's the granddaddy of them all, how it's the Super Bowl of the WWE, and hyping up this event as a whole. You know, the standard WrestleMania video package they have like every year.
Yeah.
Almost. So we get to the first match of the night, which was William Regal defending the Intercontinental Championship against Rob Van Dam. And Rob Van Dam made his WrestleMania debut on this night. Right?
And Mr. Party Face himself.
Yeah, and one thing that the fans noticed real quick when William Regal made his entrance is why the hell was he wearing the Intercontinental Championship upside down? That's when you know the show's off to a real good start right there, right?
Because he was in a rush to get out there.
Yeah. And yeah, this match was mostly, back and forth between the two. Neither of them held the advantage for very long. RVD at one point got his mouth busted open. A little bit, but he didn't really give a damn, alright?
Yeah.
And William Regal tried to use the brass knuckles on 2 separate occasions, but both times Van Dam freaking kicked the knucks away. So Regal couldn't use the knucks at all in this match, despite getting searched. Right?
Yeah.
And the match ended with Van Dam winning the Intercontinental Championship after freaking performing the 5-star frog splash and getting a 3 count on Regal. Your thoughts on this opener?
It was good.
Yeah, and this would also mark Rob Van Dam's first Intercontinental Championship win, too, by the way, in his first Intercontinental title reign. Which, from there, yeah, Van Dam would hold the title for about a little over a month before dropping the title to a returning Eddie Guerrero at the following Backlash pay-per-view, but good start to this WrestleMania nonetheless. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought the match was okay. So after the match, when the camera zooms back, goes to the backstage area, what was the first thing we saw backstage at this show? That sums this pay-per-view up.
Oh, Christian.
In that creepy smile of his when he was getting interviewed about his match with DDP for the European title.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was pretty much trash-talking Toronto on top of it. Right?
Yeah.
And right when the interview ended, he did another creepy freaking smile face pose. I'm like, Jesus. Right?
Is that how he got those masks for his entrance?
Oy. And all I could think about was like, well, this is creepy as fuck. How would you like a creepy smiling Christian staring at you at like 3 a.m.? You're like, oh, hell no. Right?
Yeah, fuck that.
Which brings us to our next match. It was for the European Championship as European Champion Diamond Dallas Page making his only WrestleMania appearance, defending against Christian. And the thing about Christian here is when he came out, yeah, he was in his hometown of Toronto, but the ring announcer announced him being from Tampa, Florida, which, ironically enough, that's where he lives now, right? Yeah. So yeah, he was using his home state away from his real home state. He was using his current home state to antagonize the crowd. Right?
Oh, from further on from WrestleMania in the future. He is from Toronto. He is from Florida.
Yeah, even though he's originally from Toronto, right?
Yes.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, these two had an okay, shortish match. It lasted a little over 5 minutes. I think 6 at most. It's like Christian at one point executed a neck breaker on the Page, and then Page kind of took the advantage back, performing a roll-up of Christian at one time, but neither man could get the win there. Both resulted in 2 counts. And despite Christian's best effort, trying to freaking reverse one diamond cutter, which was successful, he couldn't freaking reverse 2 of them, and eventually Diamond Dallas Page DDP hit his freaking diamond cutter finisher onto freaking Christian and got the 3 count to retain the European title here. Yeah. And then after the match, DDP said, yeah, Christian, the fact that you took this loss in front of over 60,000 fans and millions at home, and you didn't freaking lose your temper one time, that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. And what did Christian do after he heard that?
Acting and whining like a little bitch.
Yeah, Christian started crying like a little freaking baby, otherwise known as the current younger generation. Oops, did I say that out loud? Right?
Yeah.
No, but in all despite that, in all seriousness, I'm like, well, this sucked. How'd it go from being freaking creepy face to crybaby in like less than 10 minutes? I have no idea. Right?
Neither do I.
But anyway, either way, I know that was part of Christian's gimmick there, but it was a terrible gimmick to start with. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but as far as the match goes, I thought it was okay for what it was. It was nothing special. It's not like a match it's not like a match I'd be like, oh, I can't wait to go back and watch that match again. You know what I mean? It just felt there to be there. And I know when it comes to WrestleMania matches, you really shouldn't be saying that, but it just felt like there to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And plus, DDP deserves so much better. And we could discuss DDP's failed WWE run, but that's another discussion for another day. All right? So next we go to the Hardcore Championship match. Oh, God. Oh, God, and, so, plan of attack here. Should we talk about all the Hardcore title segments here, or should we just wait until they chronologically come up in order?
Come up in order.
Yeah. Fine, we'll just talk about the first bit here. It all started with the Hardcore Championship being defended. It was Maven defending the Hardcore Championship against Goldust, right? And Goldust had these gold weapons with him, too. Gold trash cans, gold chairs, right? The whole 9 yards, basically. Right? Oh, not to forget, the golden trash can lids, right? We're using this. It was pretty much the first part of this was just, pretty much all of it was just Maven and Goldust hitting each other with weapons. Like you would see in a standard hardcore match, right?
Yeah.
But then Spike Dudley then came out after both men knocked each other out with trash can lids. And Spike Dudley pinned Maven to win the Hardcore Championship since the Hardcore title is under 24/7 rule. Which was the catalyst for the 24/7 Championship years later, which that was a complete flop. Right? Yeah, and then freaking Spike celebrated becoming the new champion, and ironically enough, Spike Dudley is the only member of the Dudley Boys stable who actually has a pinfall win at WrestleMania, and this was actually it. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, Spike Dudley couldn't celebrate too long, as in your boy Crash came out and chased freaking Spike through the crowd.
It's your boy Crash.
With Maven and Goldust following suit through the crowd, and that was it. So yeah, before we talk about that, your thoughts about this little first hardcore freaking title scene?
Why were there golden Dominics?
I don't know. Dominic wasn't even golden at all. He never is.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I get that it was the start of a freaking of what was to come throughout the whole show, but it just, whatever. Hardcore shenanigans at its finest. Right? Yeah, and then following that match, we see freaking, we see a promo video hyping up the main event, literally after about 3 matches, with Drowning Pool playing, freaking Tearaway. That's also a good banger, by the way. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, after the freaking video package and the song's over with, we go back to the back where we see freaking, your boy Crash and Spike Dudley continue to fight each other in the back, and then Al Snow comes in with a golf cart along with the referee. In this case, it was Theodore Long, right? With him.
I just love how fucking Al Snow just pops up out of fucking nowhere
and crashes into the box structure.
Golf cart and just like, get out of the way! Crashes into fucking pipes and cardboards.
And cardboards, yep.
And then it acts like he's knocked the fuck out, and then right when it's over, Spike gets hit by the hurricane and the hurricane runs out. He freaking like, where'd it go?
Yes, and like I was about to mention, after Al Snow crashed the golf cart into the box like structure tower, why was there one erected back there to begin with? I have no idea. Then we got the hurricane thinking he's Jack Sparrow before Jack Sparrow by swooping on a rope and freaking kicking Spike in the head.
Yes.
And then the Hurricane pinned Spike Dudley in the back to become the new hardcore champion. So yeah, your little thoughts on that little backstage hardcore championship shenanigans.
It's funny as hell.
Oh, but that won't be the only thing involving the Hurricane on this show. One that made next thing we're about to talk about a little later is one that made you laugh out loud hella bad. Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, we go back to the ring where we see the next match, which was Kurt Angle versus Kane. And of course, the backstory on this one is that Kurt Angle defeated Triple H at No Way Out to become #1 contender for the Undisputed Championship in the main event at this WrestleMania. Until the next night on Raw, when in a rematch, freaking Kane interfered, cost Kurt Angle the rematch to Triple H, thus losing the title shot back to Triple H. Right? Yeah, and then apparently freaking Angle's been attacking Kane's freaking ankle and arm or whatever, injuring body part in the lead up to this, whatever. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
What they were trying to sell in the freaking commentary. And, Angle took the fight to Kane, and then Kane, the brawler, taking the fight back. This was more of a brawler versus the Olympian freaking match here. I think this was the only
time. Also, like, how when Angle Kane's like, oh yeah, I'm the big red, white, and blue machine. If I won my gold medals like Canada's figure skaters won their gold, I'd be embarrassed.
Ooh, yeah, that was a cheap shot. I know the story behind that one. Right?
Everyone knows the story that was behind that one.
Yeah, that was a real cheap shot right there to the crowd. Right? But either way, back in the match, at one point, Angle actually freaking... But yeah, Angle freaking at one point got to the top rope and actually nailed Kane with Kane's signature flying clothesline, which I thought was impressive. We don't really see Angle dive off the top rope very often.
Yeah.
And when he does, he usually tries to go for a moonsault, which always misses. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Angle got all cocky, tried another one, but Kane countered with a clothesline of his own on the Angle. Right?
Yeah.
Then when Kane had everything under control, he was like, you know what? I'm going to go for a freaking tombstone pile driver on the Angle, but Angle freaking grabbed at Kane's mask, thus reversing the move. Right? And Angle then nailed an angle slam on a Kane and got... I believe that's when Angle went for a pinfall, but got a 2 count, but then Angle applied the angle lock on Kane, and Jesus Christ, you never hear the Big Red Machine scream that much in your life, right?
Yeah.
And I guess at one point during the build-up, I guess they mentioned that Angle's the only person who ever made Kane tap out at this point. I guess Kane did tap out in a tag match against Angle or something in the lead-up, but I'm not too sure about that, right?
Yeah.
But Kane eventually got to the ropes, got up, and actually nailed an enziguri on the freaking Angle, thus breaking the hold, which I thought was impressive. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then another highlight here near the end was Kane trying to execute that clothesline off the top rope, but then Angle came and belly suplex Kane off the top rope. Right? But then Kane was in control at the end, and he was like, that's it, I'm going to put this one away. He went for the choke slam on Angle, but Angle reversed into a roll-up, got his foot on the ropes, and got the 3 count. Your thoughts on this? Yeah, and I think it's funny for how long Kurt Angle and Kane's been were on the WWE roster. This was the only time on pay-per-view they fought each other one-on-one. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not... If you ask me, Angle's match with Benoit from the previous year at WrestleMania 17 was obviously better than his match with Kane this year, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention this. This not only was the final WrestleMania under the WWF banner, this was also the final WrestleMania with that Kurt Angle competed at that he had hair.
Yes, I know.
Heck, because he'd be shaved bald like, what, 2 months later?
Yes.
I feel like I had to point that out, right?
Yep.
So I thought it was okay for what it was. Did it feel like a match to be suited better on like Raw or something? Probably, but it was alright for what it was. It wasn't a shit match. It wasn't the show steal or anything. It was just there too. Right. So, So, did we have the next backstage segment after that, or did we just go into this next contest, if you remember correctly? I think we went to the next backstage segment after the Angle Kane match.
It was Booker T. Booker T segment.
No, the Booker T segment happened right before his match. The next match was the Taker and Flair match.
Oh no, we had the video that was hyping up the.
Oh yeah, this one had the video. Oh yeah, there was a video package like the Taker and Flair no DQ match, which was next. All right.
Yeah, it was showing Taker and Flair were gonna have. The Taker was goading Flair into a match, so he beat the shit out of Arn Anderson, and then he beat the shit out of David Flair, which pissed off Ric Flair, which made him agree to his match at WrestleMania, which coincided with Mr. McMahon having a board meeting or a trustees meeting for full
control
ownership of both brands.
Yep. Until after WrestleMania. Right?
Yes.
Which brought on this no DQ match between Nature Boy Ric Flair and The Undertaker. And truth be told, Ric Flair going in this match wasn't confident. Was lacking his confidence in this match. Heading into this match. That's why for the longest time he didn't want to do it. And if story is to be believed, right?
Yeah.
Until Taker was like, "You're Ric fucking Flair." Right? And if there was anybody that could drag a good match out of Ric Flair, it was Taker at this point in his career. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, both made their entrances. Taker on his freaking motorcycle to the Limp Bizkit theme song. And then Ric Flair just rushed out the ring. Didn't even waste time. Didn't even waste any time. He literally took his robe off walking to the ring. Or should we say fast walking out to the ring. And for this one. And this was Ric Flair's, first WrestleMania appearance in 10 years. His last one was WrestleMania 8. Right?
Yeah.
And this was The Undertaker's 10th WrestleMania. Obviously not suffering a loss at this point yet. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the match started with those two brawling on the outside. Right? And Flair got his back smashed into the ring post. And back in the ring, The Undertaker yelled out "old school," which, knowing Ric Flair's age, to him it was just school. Right? Sorry, I had to point that out. Right? Had to make that stupid joke. Flair freaking reversed it. And these two went back on the outside. I think Flair got busted open by one of The Undertaker's right hands. Right?
Yeah, he got busted open by his fist, yes.
And of course, The Undertaker got a little cut on his cheek from offense from Flair earlier in the match. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, at this point, near the end of the match, after these two threw everything at each other, including the freaking kitchen sink, metaphorically speaking here, At one point, Ric Flair tried to use the freaking lead pipe that was on the Undertaker's motorcycle. You know, the same lead pipe he screwed the Undertaker with against his match against The Rock the month prior. At No Way Out, which we covered. Thanks a lot for that one. Am I right?
Yeah.
Freaking Taker reversed it. Then that freaking pipe went freaking sailing all the way across from one side of the ring to the other onto the floor. That pipe became a non-factor in this match. Right? But near the end,
but you could also see the pipe said, "I'm free."
exactly. Right? So yeah, at one point near the end of the matchup, Flair had the advantage over Taker. Flair actually freaking was able to lock in the figure 4 on the Undertaker, which I'm like, oh shit. Everyone's like, oh, is the Undertaker going to tap out? Obviously, this is Taker at WrestleMania. He ain't going to tap for shit. Right?
Yeah.
So what the Undertaker do? He countered by grabbing Flair by the throat, got back up and performed the choke slam on Flair. Alright?
Yeah.
And then that's the cue for Arn Anderson to come out and attack the Undertaker, nailing a spine buster on him, allowing Ric Flair to go for the pin, but the Undertaker kicked out at 2. Alright?
Even though Arn Anderson went to go hide, even though it was a freaking no DQ match.
Yeah, no. Of course, the Undertaker would pay freaking Arn Anderson back by attacking Anderson and laying him out with a dragon sleeper, only to get hit from behind with a chair by Ric Flair. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, the Undertaker then responded by nailing a big boot on the freaking Flair, but the Undertaker at this point was like, well, time to put the Nature Boy away. So the Undertaker went for the last ride, not once but twice, but both attempts failed. I think because Ric Flair was exhausted, couldn't get himself up to do the move. Right?
Yeah.
So the Undertaker was like, fuck it, I'm gonna pick freaking Flair up, nail a tombstone on him, and the Undertaker freaking got the pinfall win following the tombstone pile driver. And of course, after the matchup, when he was celebrating this victory, the Undertaker stood on the ring apron and freaking stuck out all 10 of his fingers there, acknowledging his WrestleMania win streak was 10-0. The first time the Undertaker acknowledged his win streak on camera, by the way. Right? Before riding off up the rampway. Your thoughts on this one?
It was good. Was it Taker's best match? No. Was it a best match between those two at the time? Yes.
Did this match actually help Ric Flair's confidence to freaking lengthen his career out by a couple more years? Yes. Right?
Yeah.
So I think it was after this match we go backstage, and what did we see backstage? And I think this was before the Booker T interview. I'm talking about the next Hurricane segment.
Oh, yeah. Hurricane is running and trying to hide because he was the 24/7 hardcore champion.
Yeah, he was a hardcore champion. Yep. And where'd he end up at?
And he ended up in the back room with the hose.
Yeah, hiding behind like a silhouette dressing area.
He was going to hide, and then he heard the Godfather's hose talk, so he goes and hides behind the curtain,
Or the curtain
silhouette curtain, and one of them takes off the bra and says, "Oh, I think my boobs are too big." Hurricane just comes up and becomes Hurricreeper.
looking like the neighbor from Home Improvement.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes. And then what did we see?
That's not the end of it. Then he goes right behind there, has the broomstone, and makes...
You can't even say that without laughing.
broom, and he goes...
Yes, the Hurricane pretty much did an erection joke with a broomstick.
And Godfather shows up. He's like, well, what are you guys behind there? Grabs the broom handle. They're fighting over the broom. It makes it look like he's turning off the hurricane.
That looks a little weird. And it's just a broom. He didn't have a hold of anything else. And then the hurricane ran off.
It is.
And you were just sitting there laughing your ass off the whole time.
Yes.
Kind of like what you are now. And then afterwards, I think we go see that interview with Booker T in the back, talking about. Yeah, Booker T pretty much talking about his education level and his smart level his education level compared to freaking Edge's. And I'm like, that's a weird turn. Didn't this freaking goddamn feud start over a Japanese shampoo commercial? All right.
Yes, he's like, yeah, I would have got the commercial if Edge didn't do it. Yes, I got an award from my school for Einstein's theories.
Mm-hmm.
His theory of relativity. And he's, like, oh, you mean the theory of relativity? And then he's like, no, Einstein had two theories. He only had one theory.
It's like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, that brings us to our next match. It's Edge versus Booker T. And this was Booker T's WrestleMania debut also, by the way. And after the two made their entrances here, sign in the crowd that somebody had summed this match up. They are fighting over shampoo. Like, why? Right?
Yes.
And of course, Booker T got the advantage early in the match, but Edge recovered, countered Booker T's top rope attack with a Hurricane Rana, and a spinning wheel kick off the top rope by Booker T. Right? Or by Edge, whatever.
Yeah.
And Booker executed the scissors kick for a freaking 2 count here. And I think afterwards Booker T went for the spinneroonie, but he got the spinneroonie in, but Edge freaking delivered a spear for a near fall. But then Edge was like, that's it. I'm a freaking do my own version of the spinneroonie called the Edge-rooney. Obviously, he could not do it as good as Booker T. Right?
Yeah.
But anyhow, this was enough for Edge to pick up the win following the execution. So yeah, your thoughts on this one?
Was it their best match? No.
Was what they
Did they have better matches? Especially have different WrestleManias against each other? By far.
Yeah, like the only other WrestleMania against each other that I can think of that they had was the Money in the Bank match at number 23. When both of them were competitors in that match, that was better than this. Right?
Yes.
Ugh.
Did they ever fight over shampoo again? No.
I was about to say, was the storyline that they were fighting over ridiculous? Yes. But was there worse storylines that we covered on this channel by the same company? Yes. All right, like way worse.
A couple months after this, it was literally Edge versus Angle for hair versus hair.
So yeah, explain to me that short time period. How did Edge compete against Booker T in a shampoo commercial to fighting Edge the fighting Angle where the loser had to have their head shaved? A lot of hair feuds that Edge was involved in at this point, wasn't it?
Yes.
It's like shampoo commercials, loser gets their head shaved. Jesus Christ, right?
Yes.
But anyway, I thought the match was okay. It's not a 5-star classic. Like you said, they had better matches against each other. Whether it was at a WrestleMania or not, and they had better matches against other opponents in general here. This felt like it was just there to be there and to give Edge a big, like, hometown pop at WrestleMania. Right?
Yeah.
Considering Edge was in attendance 12 years prior at WrestleMania 6 as a teenager. So there you go, right?
Yeah.
After Adam Copeland, as he's known by now in AEW, Jesus, don't even talk about that company. All right.
Yeah.
Then after Edge's win, we go back to the backstage where freaking Hurricane was being interviewed by your boy Jonathan Coachman. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention earlier. Oh, speaking of Jonathan Coachman, I forgot to mention this earlier in the night. We saw Jonathan Coachman interview The Rock.
Oh, that was the one that we were going to talk about. Which was prior to the other two ones, which was the Jonathan Coachman and The Rock, which he was interviewing about the Hogan match.
Oh yeah, I think that interview took place before the Ric Flair Taker match, right?
Yes.
Okay, might as well just briefly go at it. The Rock was like, "So, Coach, have you had your vitamins?" He goes, "Yes." "Did you say your prayers?" "No, I haven't had time." "Get on your knees right now." Right? And what does Coach say? He goes, "Hey, G."
Get on your knees. And he's like, "What up, G?"
And Rock looked at Scott. "Get out of here, you... What up, G? Get out of here, you sick freak." Right?
He's all like, "Hold up. What up, G?" And he just freaking straight up Spartan kicks him.
Yep. Yeah, and then The Rock freaking proceeded to talk about...
And it says, "Get out of here, you sick freak."
Kicks out of the frame. And then The Rock...
And he's like, "Oh, Hogan, what are you going to do when The Rock runs wild on you?" When he's ripping his shirt.
Yes. Okay, that was the interview we were thinking of that we didn't remember at that point. But anyway, going back to where we were, Hurricane was being interviewed by your boy, the Coach, backstage about winning the Hardcore Championship, right?
And
then Mighty Molly comes into frame.
Goes up, and he's like,
And it's Hurricane.
To the Hurricane cycle. Pulls out a frying pan
and smacks Hurricane in the back of the head with it. And then the referee just happens to be there. Molly Holly, or Mighty Molly, or Molly Holly, whatever you want to call her, pins Hurricane, wins the Hardcore title.
It was Mighty Molly.
Yeah, well, still, we know who it is.
Yeah.
Mighty Molly or Molly Holly, it's the same person. We know who it is. Yeah, and then Mighty Molly is now the Hardcore champion. Your thoughts on this little ridiculous segment?
It's so funny.
And I look at that, I'm just like, as if the Hurricane didn't see it coming when she had that frying pan in behind her back. It was obvious it was there, right?
Well, you could say that that was Molly Holly's first ever title.
Was a Hardcore championship, yeah.
Yes.
And one thing is for sure, we found out when it comes to Hurricane, his kryptonite is a frying pan to the head. Then again, if you got smacked in the head hard enough with a frying pan, you'd be knocked out too.
It was a cast iron frying pan.
Exactly. Oh, these segments are getting ridiculous.
It has some heft to it.
Anyway, we go to the next matchup here, and actually we see a video package hyping up the next match, and that was Steve Austin or Stone Cold versus Scott Hall here.
Before we get into that, you could also say she played some Hurraball.
God damn it.
And she did a run.
Yep. So sidekick. Yep, so the sidekick betrays the hero. That's tragic. Right?
Yes.
I mean, that was worse than freaking Robin betraying Batman. Anyway, next we see the video hype package for the next match, which was Steve Austin versus Scott Hall here.
Yeah.
And this match was to prove who is the toughest SOB in WWE, basically, is what this match hype was all about.
Well, we saw the video of Mr. McMahon saying, "Oh, since you're doing this, I'm going to inject a lethal dose
of poison
into the WWF," which he was talking about the NWO Hall, Nash, and Scott.
And it turns out this... Yeah. And then later on, it turns out this lethal dose of poison turned out to be nothing but a bug bite. Anyway.
Yes.
Right? But that's another story for another day. Again, right? Anyway, Austin comes out, got an ovation. Scott Hall had Kevin Nash in his freaking corner, right? And believe it or not, this was Scott Hall.
Austin was pissed because the year prior, he was going for the title, and the NWO screwed him over.
You mean the month prior? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Austin was pissed off creatively at this point. Apparently, he only saw for Scott Hall because he didn't have a WrestleMania match. The original plans was for Steve Austin to face Hulk Hogan at this show, but Austin turned that down, from what we know, right? So that left Austin and Hall, and I guess freaking Scott Hall got a little messed up the night before, and Austin was pissed off about that one too, right?
Well, so because he was getting revenge for freaking the law and him getting targeted by the NWO, especially by Scott Hall, and so he freaking started beating up the NWO.
Yep.
He couldn't find Nash and Hogan, so he just beat the shit out of Scott Hall, and then Scott Hall's like, "Oh, so you say you're the toughest SOB and everything, blah, 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 blah," and it freaking led to the match.
And this was Scott Hall's first WrestleMania match in 7 years. At this point, Scott Hall's last WrestleMania match was at WrestleMania 11. God, that WrestleMania sucked. Right? Hey.
8 years.
It's like 7 years, 8 years, whatever. WrestleMania 11 generally sucked. And yeah, as we all know, Scott Hall was originally supposed to compete at WrestleMania 12, but got suspended, so that didn't happen. Alright?
Yep.
So here he is at WrestleMania 18 facing Stone Cold, who ironically made his WrestleMania debut at number 12. That we talked about a few weeks back. Right?
Yes.
But anyway, this was essentially a glorified handicap match. Freaking, at the start of the match, those two were fighting on the outside near the start of the match, and freaking Austin attacked Hall from behind, which then later on in the match, Hall responded by attacking Austin on the outside multiple times, right?
You mean Nash? He attacked Nash from the outside?
Or he attacked Nash on the outside, and then Nash got revenge. Jesus Christ, what the hell am I talking about? Of course Austin would attack Hall. That was his opponent in this match. Right?
Yes.
It's like, Jesus Christ, right?
Get the opponents correct, buddy.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Back in the ring.
And then freaking Nash would take advantage of, beat up the referee for a little while. Then he'd get ejected.
Yeah, Nash beat up the referee when Austin was in control after nailing a stunner on Scott Hall, right?
Yeah.
And Nash attacked Austin, but then Austin then hit both Hall and Nash with stunners. But freaking Nash prevented the second referee from counting by performing an elbow on him, but once again, freaking Nash was eventually forced to leave. Hall attempted a razor's edge or an outsider's edge on Austin, but Austin reversed into a backdrop on the outside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then, shortly after that's when Nash was forced to leave due to several WWF saying, "You gotta get out of here." Then back in the ring, Hall tried to execute a freaking razor's edge once again, but then Austin freaking nailed Hall then nailed a stunner on Austin.
He didn't try to do the razors. He tried to use Stone Cold's own stunner against him.
I remember. Hall did nail a stunner on Austin, but Austin kicked out. You can't beat Austin with his own maneuver. Right?
Yeah, and then he tried to do the stunner again, also ramming him into the corner at the same time, but that failed. Freaking Stone Cold hit him with one stunner. He ate that, like you in 2K, and then
Hey, fuck you. And then Austin then gave him another stunner.
one, which made a whole fucking flop like a fish in the air.
Yes, yes, the second stunner gave us that Scott Hall stunner cell. Right? He flopped like a fish and dropped like a sack of potatoes, and Austin got the victory after that. Your thoughts on this one? What do you mean?
That was a good match.
And what do you mean Hall freaking ate the stunner like me on 2K, you bitch? I only say that about you when it comes to wrestlers no selling. Jesus Christ.
Yes, but I got to it first.
God damn it. But anyway, I thought the match was okay. I know it was after this match Austin would actually walk out for a couple of weeks. Wasn't even there for the inaugural draft that happened after WrestleMania 18. But we'll talk more about the aftermath once we get done talking about the main event.
Well, that's because he went to his doctors and his doctor told him he was done.
Well, near done, basically. And he was also creatively frustrated, as we know at this point. He was pretty much a time bomb waiting to explode, right?
Well, his whole body was a time bomb, but because he had multiple surgeries on his neck. That was one time bomb. And his knees were another time bomb because that's what had him out after WrestleMania, because he went to the doctor and also the WWE doctors to have his body looked at, and they literally said your knees can't support you, can't support doing this anymore.
Yeah, and we just know that. Yeah, we just know that, we also know that Austin did walk out due to creative frustrations, ended up returning about 2 or 3 weeks later, had his match against Taker at Backlash the following month, had that handicap match at Judgment Day, and then he would walk out of the company altogether in June of that year, and then he would return the following year where he would lose to The Rock in his final match at WrestleMania 19. Before retiring for good due to injury, right? As we know, right?
Well, he was out. He was out for months on end because, like I said, he was having knee surgery done.
Yeah, I think that was also part. I think that was all part of the walkout, along with his personal issues.
Yes.
For the rest of from the summer of '02 to his comeback the following year, right?
Well, they had him doing a lot more creatively, but they wanted him to kind of flop here and there for the new talent, and he didn't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, he even said himself that what the straw that broke the camel's back for Austin at this time period was when, during that time period, is when they had him, when they booked him to lose a random King of the Ring qualifier match to Brock on Raw, and Austin even said himself at the time, he goes, that doesn't make any sense. He goes, he had no problem putting Brock over, it just needed to be a pay-per-view or something, but that didn't happen. Right?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, could have been I think would have worked better for those two mega stars, but more on that when we get to that, and when we review that show.
Or at least, or he had no problem putting him over. He's like, at least if it's for the King of the Ring, because he wanted to do one more run for the King of the Ring. But they're like, no, we want you to put him over tonight, and
I'm pretty sure
get your health looked at.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Eddie Guerrero would have came out.
He was also pissed off because he found out that Scott Hall was drinking again.
Yeah, which I guess originally Scott Hall was penciled to win this until Austin had to change due to Hall totally getting messed up the night before. Right?
Yeah.
So it was just all bad. I mean, 2002 was a bad year for Steve Austin, and Steve Austin fans in general, right? But anyway, going back on track, we can rant about that all we want, but this video will be like hell long with just us talking about that, right? We can talk about that when we're talking about a Steve Austin retrospective at some point, or I don't know, all right?
No.
And of course, the next match on the card was a tag team title match. So your boys, the tag team champions, Billy and Chuck.
No, it's your boys, Billy and Chuck.
Nope. They were defending against the APA, the Dudleys, and the Hardys.
You told me just last week that you were looking forward to seeing them and listening to their theme song again.
No. That was you.
Nope.
That was you. That's why you were happy when I chose WrestleMania 18 to review last week.
No.
But anyway, the Dudleys had a custom entrance with Saliva performing their own rendition of Turn the Tables or Get the Tables Live, right? The Dudley Boys theme song, followed by the entrance for the rest of the teams in here, which were the APA, Hardys, and of course Billy and Chuck, your boys.
Well, before that we had WrestleMania Access.
Oh yeah, we had the WrestleMania Access highlights before this match. Yeah, and for
those, just like how the fucking bunch of people went up to the AP and they're like, "We're not worthy," and then JBL was like, "Well, we all know that they were drinking."
Yes, and for those of you who don't know or don't remember, Access is pretty much, the fans interacting with the superstars of WrestleMania with a bunch of different, some that they still do today, obviously.
Yes.
And is it bad that one of the things that stuck out to me is I'm like, hey, John, is it bad that when it comes to the Access highlights, I can see you being that one fan that was freaking bawling her eyes out when meeting Taker? Is that bad I can view you being that person? If you ever had that opportunity to meet him?
Yeah, that would definitely be me.
You'd probably be kissing Taker's ass saying, I've been watching you my whole life, you're a freaking goat. I wouldn't make fun of you because I probably would too.
Yeah, right? I'd be like, fuck, I've been following your career since fucking day one.
But anyway,
not literally day one, but through the years. Because I've seen his indie matches, I've seen his
mainstream matches, his early matches.
Texas Red in the territory matches, because you could literally watch those on Peacock when it was part of that.
Yes, and fun fact.
I watched his
all of his WrestleMania encounters.
WCW.
Yep.
When he was Mean Mark Callis.
Yeah, and obviously
Mark Calloway or whatever. It was Mark Callis or Mark Calloway.
Mark Callis, yep. And obviously most, if not all, of his WWE matches.
With freaking WCW, because they're like, oh, if you do this, you're not going to be a superstar.
Yeah, and obviously most, if not all, of his WWE matches, right?
But when in 1990, when Taker debuted at Survivor Series to be part of the $1 Million Man's team.
Yeah, we've seen the clips of that. But ironically enough, okay, we're off track, but ironically enough, now let's face it, Taker won his first championship at Survivor Series 91. You were literally born the day before that event.
Yes.
Coincidence? I think not. Okay. Right. But anyway, back to this subject on this elimination match, four-way tag match. Obviously, only two people are legal at a time. Wrestlers can tag in out who they want to. Yeah, a rule that I really don't. That's a tag rule I really don't care about. Right. But whatever. This was. It wasn't a long match either way. Either way, the APA were the ones quickly eliminated first by the Dudley boys after Bradshaw got pinned falling to 3D. Which that was a shocker. You'd think they'd stay in there longer, and Lord knows they were kicking their APA's ass the month prior at No Way Out. Right?
Yeah. Well, the APA was beating the shit out of Billy and Chuck.
To start off this match, before going out. Yeah, then
Is it bad that I almost forgot that Chuck Palumbo had blonde hair at one point in his career?
Yeah, during his team with Billy. Fuck. Right?
No, even before that, when he debuted in WWF or WWE, because they were transitioning to at that point, he debuted with freaking blonde hair.
Yep. And of course, at this point, after the AP were eliminated, the Dudleys set up a table on the outside of the ring. And then Stacy Keibler went up on the ring apron and tried to distract Jeff Hardy.
Oh, also, at the Access, Stacy Keibler was like, yeah, it was kind of embarrassing because they had a replica of my legs and my ass, and the fans were touching my legs and my ass.
And then I look at that and I thought,
touching my legs and my ass.
Yes, and I seen that little clip, and all I can think about is like, I'll take things you won't see at Access today for $500, Alex. Yeah, right.
You can see it still there.
I'm talking about for the modern female wrestlers. Jesus, right?
They could probably do it.
Doesn't mean they
will. If they really wanted to.
But anyway, like I said, Stacey was on the freaking ring apron trying to distract Jeff Hardy by showing Jeff Hardy her ass. Not joking, that actually happened, right?
Yeah.
And what did Jeff do in response? Jeff Hardy spanked her and then kissed her on the apron before shoving her off. Yeah, that's sexual assault. That would definitely not fly in a WWE ring today, right? The fans would hate the shit out of that spot, and you know it. In modern times, right? But then the Dudleys got the advantage, tried to go for the what's up headbutt onto Jeff, but Billy pushed Devon off the freaking top rope, sending Devon crashing to the table on the outside. Then Matt got the tag in, nailed the twist of fate by Matt Hardy, and Jeff hit him with a swanton bomb. Matt covered Bubba Ray to eliminate the Dudley boys. All right.
Well, also, Bubba tried to do what Matt Hardy does, is the freaking leg drop off the second rope, and he failed.
Yep. Well, either way, the twist of fate swanton bomb combo eliminated the Dudleys here. Then we were down to two teams, your boys Billy and Chuck and the Hardys.
No, it's your boys Billy and Chuck.
And anyway, after a little bit of back and forth, Billy and Chuck won the match. After freaking Billy nailed Jeff Hardy in the head with one of the tag title belts. After Jeff Hardy ate a freaking famouser from Billy on one of them, which enabled Chuck to pin him to retain the titles. So your boys retain the championships at WrestleMania. Your thoughts on this?
Your boys.
No, they're your boys. And your thoughts on this?
No, they're your boys.
Anyway, your thoughts on this elimination
match
as a whole?
Your boys don't take backsies.
They're not my boys. Anyway,
They are.
Anyway, your thoughts on this 4-way elimination match as a whole?
It was decent.
Yep. It was alright.
For what it was.
It was alright. Did it have its moments? Yes. Was it one that I care about going back to watch again? No, but this match is notable for one reason, other than your boys retaining their titles.
Your boys.
This match is notable for one thing. This was Jeff Hardy's final WrestleMania appearance for 5 years, because it would be like a year or two after this he would leave WWE and debut in TNA in 2004.
Well, his contract had gone up.
Yeah, and he got fired.
And he had some issues with
with his substance control,
substances.
and which led to his firing in 2003.
Yes.
And of course, Jeff Hardy would debut for TNA in 2004 and have like a 2-year run there. Jeff Hardy's next WrestleMania appearance wouldn't be until WrestleMania 23 in that Money in the Bank match that we mentioned earlier. Right?
Yeah, because he would leave everyone else high and dry in TNA.
Yep. So next we go backstage once again where we see Mighty Molly trying to leave the arena with the Hardcore Championship.
And who else do we see? We see a freaking top of the door slam right into her face. And who was it? It was Creepy Smile himself.
Christian. And there just happened to be a referee nearby, so Christian could get the pinfall on Mighty Molly and claim the Hardcore Championship.
Yep.
So, even though Christian couldn't win the European title, here's a chance for him to walk away from WrestleMania 18 as a Hardcore Champion. Okay. Alright.
Then he runs off.
And the Creepy Smile meme lives on. This is just too funny, right?
Yes.
And then we move on to the main event, which wasn't the main event, but it should have been the main event. All right. And that was Icon versus Icon. It was the People's Champion versus Wood in the Hood. The Rock versus Hollywood Hogan. Right?
Yes.
And of course, they play the video package hyping this match up beforehand, which included freaking The Rock laying out the challenge to Hogan after Hogan was talking about main eventing 8 of the 9 WrestleManias he was in. And then The Rock was like, yeah, you want a chance to go another main event to go one-on-one with a great one, and I think this match was originally supposed to be the main event, by the way, but Triple H, from what stories I heard, Triple H had that shit changed for some reason, right?
Yeah.
So, it's like, yeah, and I can't. And then that also led to a beatdown of The Rock, which led to Hogan with that ATV, or not ATV, the tractor trailer, or not, the semi-trailer, and running over the fucking ambulance that The Rock was in. Jesus Christ, I can't talk for shit today. Right? And I remember on the Go Home episode of Raw before WrestleMania 18, we did have that 3-on-2 handicap match where we saw the NWO take on Austin and The Rock in that handicap match. The only time in history we ever seen Austin and Hogan fighting each other in the same match, by the way.
Yeah.
Which the NWO won that match heading into this show. All right. Just felt like pointing that one out. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, Hogan made his entrance first, and despite Hogan being associated with the NWO at this point, obviously be portraying the heel character, the fans cheered him like no one's business. Right? Like he was a gift sent from the gods or something. Right?
Yeah.
And then The Rock then came out, and he got a mixed reaction. Like, half the crowd was cheering him, half the crowd was booing him. Basically.
Well, also, Hogan said that he'd break his curse at for losing at the Sky Dome freaking years prior.
Yeah, because the last time Hogan competed at the Sky Dome at WrestleMania was WrestleMania 6 when he lost the Ultimate Warrior in that title unification match. Main event.
Yes, which he would leave WWF shortly after.
Yeah, a few years later, they'd go to WCW. And then in WCW, he would have the absolute worst match in his career against the Ultimate Warrior, which we had to review. Thanks a lot. Right?
That was you.
You made us watch Halloween Havoc 98. I didn't. But anyway, enough about that, right? But anyway, these two go face to face, and Hogan overpowered the Rock. I can't even describe this match, but it's like Hogan overpowered the Rock. The Rock followed suit against Hogan, and the crowd was and it seems like everything Hogan did, whether it was a cheap tag or not, he got cheered. Everything the Rock did, he was booed. Right? It's pretty much how this felt, or just watching this. Yeah, so during the matchup, Rock at one point applied the sharpshooter. Referee was down. Hogan got to the ropes, but Rock pulled Hogan out of the ropes. Hogan submitted, but the referee didn't see it. He was down at this point. This was like in the middle of the match, basically. It's like Rock released the hold, and then Hogan nailed a low blow and a Rock bottom for a 2 count. The fans were cheering Hogan doing a low blow spot, by the way. Right? So the Rock, so essentially Hogan was a dick to Rock's Dwayne Johnson's. Right? Basically. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and at one point, at one point Hogan got hit with a Rock bottom, kicked out. Hogan freaking hulked up. Was able to eventually nail a big boot and a leg drop, but freaking Hogan Rock kicked out of that. Right? And and everyone was just split. They're like, how the hell is this match going to end? This was a good match back and forth. I can't describe all the moves because we'd be sitting here for an hour, right? It's just one of those matches you gotta watch for yourself, right? And then The Rock was like, earlier in the match, before the end of the match, freaking Hogan took his weightlifting belt off, nailed The Rock with it, and The Rock followed suit and whipping Hogan with it. That was a spot I just remembered. Right?
Yeah.
But near the end of the matchup, here, The Rock nailed 2 Rock bottoms on Hogan, followed by a people's elbow, and Rock got the clean pinfall win over Hogan. And of course, after the matchup, Hogan extended his hand to The Rock as a show of respect, which The Rock shook Hogan's hand. And then The Rock left the ring, leaving Hogan by himself in the ring, and that's when Nash and Hall came out. And pretty much both of them at that point freaking attacked Hogan because Hogan showed respect to The Rock, and then The Rock then came back into the ring and helped Hogan fight off Hall and Nash before both of them posed in the ring, with Hogan doing most of his Hulk Hogan poses in the ring, turning face in the progress. Right?
Yep.
Before both of them got out of the ring and walked down the aisleway to leave the arena. Your thoughts on this one?
That was good.
Hey. And I can't do this match justice. It's just one of those matches you gotta watch back and watch yourself. Was it way better than their second encounter at the 2003 No Way Out? Yeah, by a long shot. Right? So, yeah, I thought this was the best match of the night. It's just one of those matches you gotta go and watch yourself. This one is highly recommended. This is why this pay-per-view is known as a one-match show, by the way. Right? Oh, boy. Anyway, the semi-main of the matchup was for the Women's Championship. It was Women's Champion Jazz defending against Trish Stratus and Lita in a triple threat match. But let's face it, at this point, nothing that followed the Hogan-Rock match here was going to top it in crowd response. The crowd was dead for the last 2 matches overall, right?
Oh, we saw Maven win the hardcore title back.
Yeah, but we'll talk about this afterward, this match, because it happened after this matchup here. Freaking, this triple threat match was okay. Trish Stratus, the hometown hero here, got, I wouldn't say like a loud ovation, but she got, most cheers than the other 2 participants. Right?
Yeah.
Near the end of the matchup, though, after a good, back and forth, freaking couldn't tell. Neither of them had the advantage in this triple threat match here for very long here. At the end of the match, Trish attempted a satisfaction, but Lita threw Trish on the outside of the ring, which saw Lita freaking go up on the top turnbuckle, but Jazz followed up, delivering a fisherman suplex onto Lita, allowing freaking Lita to be pinned, thus by Jazz. Thus, Jazz retains the title here. Not really much to say on this one. Your thoughts on it?
It was okay, I guess.
You know what's funny, for a veteran that Lita is, can you believe that this was her first of only 2 WrestleMania appearances, matches? Right, figure that one out. Right. Yeah, Lita's next WrestleMania match wouldn't happen until WrestleMania 39. By the way, hella years later after her full-time career came to an end. Figure that one out, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was okay. I mean, it was serviceable for women's wrestling at the time, but it was, I hate to say, but it was mostly used for the crowd as a bathroom break match following that epic Rock and Hogan match. And honestly, I think this match would have been better just as a one-on-one between Lita and Trish Stratus, a WrestleMania match we never got. Right? I mean, they fought at other pay-per-views against each other, but never at a WrestleMania. Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, after the women's title match, we go to the back, where we see Christian getting ready to leave the stadium, or the arena, with his taxi. Right? In a taxi, right? And then Christian was all looking at the Hardcore Championship. He goes, "Yeah, I can almost see my reflection in this." I'm like, the Hardcore title's tied up and falling apart. You can't see your own reflection in it. All right?
Yes.
But right when he said that, Maven snuck up from behind him, and hit the most devastating maneuver in all sports entertainment on Christian, a surprise roll-up. And the referee was there to give the 3 count, and then Maven won the Hardcore Championship back. And then Maven got into that taxi with Christian's freaking stuff in it, by the way, and then proceeded to leave the stadium in it. So thus the Hardcore title shenanigans are now over, with Maven once again as champion. All right?
Yes.
So anyway, now that we talked about all of the Hardcore title segments, your thoughts on the Hardcore title segments all as a whole?
They were good. There was hilarious ones.
Yeah, funny little segments that were okay. It served their purpose throughout, being spread throughout the whole show, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the funniest one to you didn't even involve the Hardcore title change. It was that backstage segment with the Hurricane in the Godfather's locker room.
You can't say that you weren't cracking up when you saw fucking Creeper, and fucking him going
with the broomstick, right?
With the fucking broomstick.
Yeah, I admit that was hilarious. Anyway, with that, we go to our main event of this show, which, if you ask me, should have been the semi-main, with the Hogan Rock match being the main event. But anyhow, this match was for the Undisputed Championship. It was the Undisputed Champion Chris Jericho defending against Triple H, the winner of the Royal Rumble match, and someone who's been on a tear. No pun intended, since his return from a torn quad injury. At this point, right? Triple H's first, and this was Triple H coming back after his first of 2 quad tears, by the way. His second one didn't happen until early 2007, and that was also a shitty timing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, for his entrance here, Triple H had Drowning Pool perform their version of the game live, right?
Yep.
And of course, Triple H's leg was noticeably bandaged, and the commentators were selling it like Triple H's quad was hanging by a thread due to the constant attacks by Jericho leading up to this match. Right? Which, let's face it, this wasn't Triple H versus Jericho. It was really Triple H versus Stephanie McMahon with Jericho as a third wheel here. It's pretty bad when in the build to this match, you're undisputed, you're world champion against the number 1 contender, Royal Rumble winner. If he feels like a third wheel in this, it's just going to be disastrous. But then again, we've seen the same thing happen. What, 9 years later when they built up the Miz versus John Cena, which in reality that was just John Cena versus The Rock Part 1. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, this was all bad, right? For a build, right? So yeah, during the match, Jericho was actually had Stephanie McMahon in his corner, right? Which, yeah, if you look at it from this perspective, Stephanie McMahon, you're in the freaking corner of the person who once called you a trash bag hoe the summer prior to this, and you're only aligning yourself with him because he's now a heel facing Triple H. Where does that make sense? Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But whatever. And of course, every time Jericho and Stephanie tried to attack Triple H would outsmart them by dodging Jericho's attack, causing him to collide with Stephanie who was standing on the ring apron at one point. Outside the ring, Triple H went for the pedigree on Jericho through the Spanish announce table, but Jericho countered into a back body drop. The Spanish announce table got broken, right? Because this wouldn't be a WWE main event without the Spanish announce table being broken, right?
Yeah.
It's always a cliche, isn't it? Yeah, and then freaking Stephanie McMahon tried to nail Triple H with a chair, but the referee freaking stopped freaking Stephanie, so Stephanie pushed the referee aside. Only for Triple H to be like, nope, stop Stephanie in her tracks, and Triple H then proceeded to pedigree Stephanie. Right?
Yeah.
Which allowed Triple H to recover just enough to nail Triple H in the head with a steel chair. And this whole time, freaking the referee was out there, it was on the outside, Denny Stephanie, unable to freaking... He didn't see the chair shot and he didn't make the pinfall, but Jericho tried to use the pedigree on Triple H. We all know that doesn't work unless your name is Seth Rollins, right?
Yeah.
So Triple H reversed it into a catapult into the turnbuckle, but Jericho caught the turnbuckle, went for a flying nothing, and Jericho got caught by Triple H and got the pedigree. Triple H was able to perform the pedigree on Jericho, and Triple H then pinned Jericho for the 3 count to win the undisputed title here. Your thoughts on this main event?
Well, you're missing out on a bunch of context there, but because fucking
This video's already gone long enough with us talking about bullshit. But go on.
The freaking thing was that Triple H just had come back from quad injury early in his career.
Yeah.
Which no one thought that he'd come back from. And when they started to attack it, somebody's like, oh, I talked to your doctor and you're only hanging on by a wire.
Yeah.
And Jericho was targeting the leg, and then they went outside and he tried to do the walls of Jericho on the announce desk, which got reversed into the pedigree, which got reversed into a freaking power bomb.
Yeah, with the Spanish announce they were broken. That's what I freaking said earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the ending sequence came. I described that fine. Stephanie was taken out. Jericho tried to use the chair, but Triple H...
Well, Stephanie jumped into the ring, hit the referee, grabbed a steel chair, hit Triple H with it.
Yeah, Jericho nailed Triple H with it. After pedigree of Stephanie.
Jericho, right when, after Triple H freaking hit, Stephanie with the pedigree, Jericho hit, Triple H right in the face, which sounded like a gunshot.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Jericho tried to pin Triple H. That didn't happen. Right?
Yep.
And that's when, of course, Jericho tried to use the pedigree.
He tried to put the walls of Jericho on him yet again. what to make him tell, which he passed out for 2 seconds, and then right when the referee went to drop his hand for the third time, he stopped it.
He's like, I'm back up, right?
Yep.
And of course, that's when we've seen the ending sequences, right?
We see Triple H hit the pedigree and get the 3 count.
After catapulting Jericho into the ropes, and then Jericho bounced back and got hit with a pedigree, right?
Yep.
But anyway, your thoughts on this main event?
It was good.
And yeah, the crowd did somewhat cheer at the end when Triple H won it, but they weren't fully into the match. That's why I say The Rock and Hogan should have been the main event, right?
Yeah.
But either way, that's just the power of hindsight talking. And I guess even back then, Jericho lobbied for Hogan and Rock to be the main event. I guess the original plans were for Hogan and The Rock to be the main event till Triple H got a little word in Vince McMahon's ear saying that the title match should be the main event instead, and that's why plans were changed. And they would never do that again. Triple H and Orton shouldn't have main evented WrestleMania 25. Taker and Shawn should have. Okay, now that that's over. Yeah, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, my little rant's over. I thought the main event was okay for what it was. But like I said, Rock and Hogan should have main evented. But anyway, the fall off for WrestleMania 18 was this. Like we mentioned, Austin left for a few weeks due to creative frustration. WWE held their first draft because their roster was overbloated with superstars from WWE, WCW, all that stuff. They had their first draft. Austin was eventually signed with Raw, and about a couple months later, WWF would go under the name change to WWE in May of 2002.
Yes.
Thus making WrestleMania 18 the last WrestleMania under the WWF banner. Like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And before I forget, there was a certain superstar who made his debut the night after WrestleMania 18 on Raw the very next night. Who was that supposed wrestler who dominated the main event scene and still is a force today?
Brock?
Yes, Brock Lesnar would make his debut the night after WrestleMania 18 and change the business in the long run at that point.
Yeah.
Which, he's still around today. As a matter of fact, at WrestleMania 42 here in a couple weeks, he's supposed to be facing off against Obafemi now, from what I heard.
Yes.
Which, that's going to be a hard-hitting match in its own right. Right?
Yep.
But anyway, now we go to our, what I always say is our favorite segment of every review, and that's our rating system / final grade here. Rob Van Dam winning the Intercontinental Championship from William Regal in the opener. I gave that one 3.5 out of 5.
3 5/9.
That's specific. Diamond Dallas Page defeating Christian to retain the European Championship. I gave that one 3 out of 5.
3.5.
Every single hardcore championship title change and segments, I gave all of that. I gave all of it an overall rating of 3 3/4 out of 5.
4.5 because they were funny as fuck. Especially the one with the hurricane.
Yeah, that's funny. Kurt Angle defeating Kane, I gave that one 3.5 out of 5.
3.
Undertaker defeating Ric Flair in that no disqualification match, thus just going 10-0 at WrestleMania at that time, I gave that one 4 3/4 out of 5.
5.
Edge defeating Booker T in the Battle of the Shampoo commercial. I gave that one 3 out of 5.
4.
Stone Cold Steve Austin defeating Scott Hall. I gave that one 3.5 out of 5.
4.
Your boys Billy and Chuck retaining the tag team titles in that four corners elimination match. I gave that one 3 out of 5.
3.5.
The Rock defeating Hollywood Hogan. Obviously, I gave that one 5 out of 5. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, 5.
Yep.
And 917th.
Jazz defeating Trish Stratus. Yeah, and Jazz defeating Trish Stratus and Lita to retain the women's championship. I gave that one 3 out of 5.
That one was actually the weakest of the matches on the show. I gave that a 2.
Well, then again, it had to follow that Hogan Rock match, and any match is not going to look so good right afterwards, in their defense. Right?
No, it was, even if it wasn't following, that was the weakest match because it was, they just got it done and over with. I'm like, what the hell?
You're like, really? That's it?
they literally had so much build-up to the match, and then they gave us that.
Which, you gotta be thankful that women's wrestling really evolved over the last 20 plus years, am I right? Because now we don't get short women's matches that are that. Right?
That's why I said that was the... Even if it wasn't following the Hogan Rock match, that was still, in my opinion, was the weakest match of the night.
Yep. And, of course, the main event being Triple H defeating Chris Jericho to win the Undisputed Championship. I gave that one 4 out of 5.
4.5.
So my final grade, and even though, based on my scores, this should just be an average show because of the strength of the Hogan and Rock match that was on this card, I gave it, and that no DQ with Taker and Flair, I gave it a B+ grade.
A-.
Yep. And obviously the matches that I would recommend anyone going back to watch from WrestleMania 18 is obviously the Flair and Taker's no DQ match, and obviously the Rock and Hogan match. Right. So what match would you recommend? Probably the same two that I did. Yeah.
Well, the 3 in a segment.
Oh, you would be like,
well, 3 in 2 segments.
Yeah. You just want them to laugh at the Hurricane segment.
Jonathan Coachman's segment was funny as hell when he was saying, Coach, did you take your vitamins? Did you say your prayers? He's like, no, I got busy. He's like, get on your knees. There's always time. Get on your knees and start praying. And Jonathan Coach was like, what up, G? I'm like,
cringe.
Really?
Yeah, if there was, yeah, and obviously you would, and obviously I think you would recommend the Rock and Hogan match, probably with the. You would probably. What about the Taker and Flair match? I'm pretty sure you'd recommend that too.
Well, Taker, Flair, Triple H and Jericho, Rock and Hogan, and Hurricane segment because that was fucking hilarious.
Okay, when it comes to backstage segments, and yes, I'm including the hardcore title shenanigans with that. The backstage segments I would recommend would obviously be the Rock's interview with Coach. That one's funny as hell. That's
why I was saying is like those 3 matches and those 2 segments.
Yes. Another backstage segment I would recommend you have just to have a laugh and to see his creepy face is a creepy Christian smile freaking interview.
Well, yeah, I guess that one too, but still, that doesn't take the cake from fucking Hurricane and the Godfather when they're fighting over the damn broom.
Yes, that one I would also recommend for a little cheap laugh. Right?
Which literally makes it look like he's jacking him off with the fucking broom, because it's just like,
Yes, for a little cheap laugh, I would recommend you watch that too. Then my last backstage segment I would recommend you guys laugh to or look at, just have a little laugh, would be the Hurricane Mighty Molly segment, where Mighty Molly just smacks Hurricane in the back of the head with that frying pan. Just for that dink off the back of the head.
Well, especially when she says, "To the Hurricane-mobile!"
Smack,
to
dink.
the Hurricane-cycle!
Stink. Right? That just sounded loud, too, by the way.
Like I said, it was a cast iron skillet, and it had heft to it, so it just went...
Bang, whack, right?
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. Funny times on here. For this WrestleMania. Anyway, that's our thoughts and our review and grade for WrestleMania 18. So, WrestleMania 18 this week was my pick, and I picked this one only to erase that stink of Heroes of Wrestling off of us from last week. So it doesn't matter what you pick. No show's, in my opinion, is going to be as bad as that one. So,
you could say this was a turning point.
So, that being said,
it set a precedent for what it is today.
So, that being said, what is your pick? What are you going to make us review next week as we get closer to WrestleMania 42?
We will be reviewing. It is a continuation of what we reviewed a couple weeks ago. Which would, for that one segment...
Wait a minute. What segment are you talking about? Wait a minute. What segment are you talking about? You're talking about... A few weeks ago, we reviewed WrestleMania 35. What about it? Wait a second.
Remember a certain date.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about the advertisement for the... You motherfucker! I fucking knew it!
Really, WrestleMania 36, night 1 and night 2.
You motherfucker, I fucking knew it, you dick! And boy, did WrestleMania 35 get their prediction wrong of where that event's gonna be held. You motherfucker. We go from... Okay. Now let's see here. In the last several weeks, we went from long ass mania to trash event to creepy mania to now next week depressing COVID mania. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
I can't fault any of the action. I can't fault no fans in attendance because I was out of WWE's control due to the state we were in at that point.
Oh.
Well, at least I get to look forward to reviewing the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse match.
Which gave us a glimpse at a heel Cena.
And yes, you are technically right. WrestleMania 36 did set the precedent to what we have today, which is 2-day manias. Ugh.
It's the first ever 2-day mania.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. God damn it. Now we're going to be making me review WrestleMania 36. I remember seeing that live, and I remember thinking, this is depressing, but it's something to watch to distract us from what real life shit.
Well, you're also going to watch Baron Corbin versus Elias.
Oh, God. Please spare us all.
We also get to watch for night 2. Or was it night 1? Otis versus Dolph Ziggler.
Oh, God, that was bad.
With Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville fighting at the end of it.
Oh, so next week we get to watch, like you said, Elias versus King Corbin.
Yeah.
Oh, we get to see the Kabuki Warriors defend the tag titles against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Remember when Bliss and Cross were a tag team?
Oh,
Oh, we get to watch Shayna Baszler take on Becky Lynch. Oh, not to mention a triple threat ladder match for the tag titles with John Morrison defending against Jimmy Uso and Kofi Kingston.
yes.
Or how about that no DQ match between Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens? Right?
No, it was a match that turned into a no DQ match.
Yes, I remember. Or how about Goldberg versus Braun Strowman? Yeah. And that's just night one. On night two, if the Strowman and
No, also,
if the
it was Daniel Bryan and
it was Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn
yes,
for the IC title.
Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan with Cesaro and Nakamura, and who else would be? Who was in Daniel Bryan's corner?
Some forgotten asshole named Drew Gulak. Yeah. Oh yeah, and if and one thing for sure, if Braun Strowman and Goldberg doesn't tickle your fancy, how about the main event of night two, which was Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre?
Yes.
Or how about we go backstage? How about we go on a backstage tour of the friggin' dang Performance Center when we see Edge and Orton in that Last Man Standing match? Thanks a lot. You're making me relive that bullshit. Or how about Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley? That'll put me to sleep. Right? Or how about Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley's first WrestleMania match against each other? The WrestleMania 39 clash, freaking 3 years later, was a lot better than that one. Right?
Yeah, which Charlotte Flair would pick up the win.
Oh, we know that. Or how about the Street Profits taking on Angel Garza and your boy Austin Theory? I totally forgot Austin Theory competed at that event. Is that bad? Oh, well, I can already tell you the freaking dang highlights will be that Boneyard match between Taker and Styles. And the Firefly Funhouse between Wyatt and Cena.
Yeah, we get to see the night one, the Boneyard match, and night two, the Firefly Funhouse.
Yes. And of course, we didn't know this at the time, but the Boneyard match did turn out to be The Undertaker's final match before retirement.
Oh no, we all knew that it was his final match. He said it was his final match, which he wants to come back for one more match.
I think The Undertaker's just stay retired and have his Boneyard match be his final encounter. You can't get better than that, in my opinion. But, you know, it is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you get to make me watch... You get to make me watch COVID Mania next week. Jeez, thanks.
Which week, if things work out the way that they want it to, we could see Undertaker versus The Rock for the final time.
Yeah, like anybody wants to see that. Well, to me that would be kind of intriguing, but you gotta think: are they in ring shape? Will the Undertaker even be able to wrestle with his freaking hip replacement? He hasn't wrestled in years. If they were to do that, I'm not saying they will, but if they do that, right?
Yeah.
That's all things you gotta ponder, right?
Well, from what rumors are going around, he's been in ring shape because he's been working out, running the ropes.
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a difference between working out and running the ropes and doing all that stuff versus actually competing in a match, though. Yeah,
and he's been competing in matches down in AAA, helping out the new guys.
Yeah. But anyway, we get to watch WrestleMania 36 next week. Lord help us all. Hey. AKA COVID Mania. God, if this video gets flagged because I use that word, that's gonna suck. Alright? But yeah, anyway, until then, we will see you all next week for WrestleMania 36. Thanks a lot, Dick. I already fucking knew.
They literally called it COVID Mania because they were going to go to Tampa Bay, but with all the restrictions that were going on and
lockdowns and events being canceled.
They couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And they even stated in the beginning of the show of what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember seeing it live, and I'm just like, well, this sucks, but at least there's still a WrestleMania when everything else was canceled, so I guess that was a plus at that time period.
Yeah. Well, technically, there wasn't even supposed to be a WrestleMania.
Yep. But anyway, we get to look forward to that next week, so... Until then,
they pulled some strings and just had most of their matches in Florida and the adjacent area.
Yeah, they had most of the matches in the PC, plus wherever the locations they did the Boneyard and Firefly Funhouse matches were.
Yes.
So, yeah, anyway, we get to look forward to WrestleMania 36 next week. Lord help us all. I only seen the whole event once, and that's when it happened. I only seen 2 matches ever since. Because I never wanted to see this full event again. Thanks a lot, Dick. And plus, I knew it, you motherfucker. I knew it. I fucking called it. I knew it, you dickhead. Anyway, that being said, we got WrestleMania 36 to review next week. So until then, we will talk to you all later.
That's because I said, you could say it was a turning point. You could say this set a precedent.
Yeah, anyway, until then, we will talk to y'all next week. Peace.
Deuces.